Welcome to Unsubscribe. I'm your host, Avani Jain. In this podcast, I'm going to show you how to intentionally opt out of anything that's robbing you of your energy, freedom, joy, and peace of mind. It's time to let it all go, finally, so that you can clear your mental inboxes and make space to subscribe to a life that truly lights your soul. If you're ready, hop in. We are embarking on the transformation of a lifetime. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Unsubscribe. I'm Avani, and today we are catching up. We are catching up on a few things that have been happening in my world, and also I'm going to be sharing with you why I'm taking a podcast sabbatical, which I have never done before. So, as many of you know, this is my second podcast. I had a podcast years and years ago called The Six-Figure Freelancer, still available, by the way, if you want to check out that content around freelancing and growing an agency. And I never took a break. I never took like a long break when I needed it. And so I'm actually doing that this time, which I'm so proud of myself for doing. We're going to dive into that in this episode. I'm going to be talking about why and how I've downsized my office, which feels really good. And we're going to be talking about living a big, juicy life. Like, I'm talking a big life, one that feels expansive and adventurous and fun and just full of life, literal life every single day. So we're going to go all of these places together. So jump on, buckle up, and let's get started. I'm actually going to start off with talking about my office a little bit. Many of you know I work from home, and I have had this beautiful office. It was a room that was meant to be a guest room in this home, or I guess it's a bedroom for this home. And we used it as my office. My husband and I both work from home. We both run our own businesses. So, of course, we needed a space where we could be in that role of running our businesses. And for me, it was my office. I loved this office, my dream office. I had my beautiful shelves in the background and this amazing comfy couch from, I believe, Interior Define. I love this couch. And then my standing desk. And it was just the perfect space for me. I loved it so much. But we've been having some changes in our home, our households. We have some construction going on. We needed to move some things around. And in this like home renovation process, we needed that extra room, which was my office, as a guest room. So what we have done, because for like months, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. What am I just going to work from the dining table or the kitchen table? That doesn't feel right. We have people coming in and out of our house. I was like, okay, we have an extra room upstairs, a laundry room. That's our second laundry room that's unused. What if that became my office? So I was like, okay, let me explore this idea. And I measured everything out, and my desk literally fits perfectly where the washer and dryer are supposed to be in this laundry room. And my shelves are behind me. I downgraded from 4-column shelves to 2-column shelves. So everything's behind me. And I ended up putting some acoustic sound panels behind that as well for extra insulation, for sound outside, and also minimizing echo in here. And I'm in love. I'm in love with this mini office. It feels so good. And ironically, it feels really expansive and abundant for me to be in a smaller office. And that seems counterintuitive. It really does. But the reason being is work used to consume my life, and my life revolved around work. A lot of our lives revolve around work. Think about the 40-hour work week. We structure our days the way work is structured or has been structured for years and years and years. And even if we run businesses, we do the same in a lot of cases. And I realized I didn't love that. In fact, I hated it. I wanted to go live my life. I wanted to go maybe even work from coffee shops. Honestly, I love working from other spaces, reading books, or going for a matcha, spending time with friends, or going for a walk. I wanted to flip things around and do life more and have my work support that instead of the other way around. And to me, this move is very symbolic. Moving into a smaller space, meaning work is taking up less and less of my time, my energy, my mind, my life. And it's me declaring to the universe that even though I have a smaller office from a physical standpoint, I can still make big money in my business. I can still make big impact in everything I'm doing, like the podcast, and have it be just as potent, if not more potent, because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be in a smaller office right now. Like the moment I measured everything and it fit perfectly, I'm telling you, this desk fits perfectly where a washer and dryer is supposed to be. It was meant to be. And everyone was like, "Are you sure you want to do this? It's kind of weird." Tushar asked me a few times, my in-laws asked me a few times when they were helping me move things around. And I was like, yes, actually, this feels really good. And this is what I need. I just knew deep down, this is what I needed. This shift was more than just a new office for me. So here I am declaring to the universe, this is a new era for me in life and in business. And it is almost like the next step. I have created something I'm really proud of when it comes to work, when it comes to this podcast. And I'm curious about what else is available. Like it is great, it's good, and it's amazing. And it could still be better. And I'm here for that next level. I'm here for that next edge. What else is available for me at this new place that I'm at? And that feels so good. I'm saying this to you. I'm looking out my window, by the way, and I see the blue sky and these fluffy white clouds. And I could not feel more excited about what's to come for what we're creating here together in Unsubscribe and in this movement and beyond, and just really, really excited for it. And so this move and this transition, I'm excited to share it with you and bring you along for the ride. If you follow me on Instagram, you actually saw my office tour. I'll pin it to the story highlights section so you can take a look at it if you missed it, because it's so fun to look at, like the before and after. I want to make sure that if you're intrigued or just love home decorating, or if you're just nosy, you can take a look at it and let me know what you think if you have any suggestions. I still have a few things to move around here. I did the acoustic sound panels this weekend, and we have a circuit breaker over here on one side. I'm going to be covering that with some artwork. I think that's the last thing for my background, and then maybe a few other small touches, but it's kind of done. It was a quick project, and I'm in love, like I said earlier. So in this era where I'm thinking about work and life differently, I'm also doing something really, to me, it feels crazy. It feels really crazy. I'm going to be taking a break from the podcast. And I did not think I would be doing this. I thought if I ever took a break, I would pre-record a bunch of episodes, have them queued up. You would never have a pause on your end. And as time went on, I was like, I know I need a break. I need to refill creatively. And summer is a great time to do that. So I'm taking a break and I'm pausing. I'm calling it my podcast sabbatical. So it's not bye forever. It's just bye for now. And as I was doing this, I was like, okay, I need to do stuff. I need to batch a bunch of stuff, think about topics and pre-record. And there's so much work going to be involved. And if I don't do it this way, like people will think I've disappeared on them. And if I'm really like playing big, like I'm supposed to be with Unsubscribe, this is how I'll do it. And then I was like, wait a second. What if this was actually playing big? What if me taking a break and just not doing anything about it, not pre-recording a bunch of episodes, not being caught up in the doing, and allowing people who listen in to experience the pause, the silence, and allowing myself to experience the pause and silence and refuel creatively? What if that was playing big? Because I was thinking about where the edge was for me. What was actually scary was me pausing. It's not pre-recording and batching. That wasn't actually scary for me. That doing and figuring it out and getting it done is something I'm very, very good at. And it's almost like I've been doing that for so long that is always the default. But what if I looked at it differently? And what if I just slowed down and allowed that discomfort to be that growth edge for me? So that's what I'm doing with the podcast. I'm going to be pausing for a few months here, and it's going to be quiet, and I'm going to let it be quiet. I might even show up less on social media too at the same time, and maintaining optionality there because sometimes it's fun for me to say hi. And I'm going to show up
again in the fall, and I'm not going to commit to a date, which is terrifying for me because what if you're not around to listen in and be there again when I'm back? But the people who need this will be there, and I'm believing in that. I'm choosing to believe in that. This whole thing is really difficult for me because I'm someone who is a achiever. I take radical responsibility for the things in my life. Meaning, if, for example, someone on my team isn't performing, I take responsibility for it. How could I equip them? How can I train them better? And in a lot of things in life, radical responsibility is very good. But if we overcompensate and get really good at radical responsibility, almost like too good at it, where we're not allowing people to take charge of themselves, to be their own people and learn from their mistakes, or we are stretching ourselves thin and it's hurting us and we're not knowing how to rest, that's when it's actually a detriment to be radically responsible. And maybe even we're being overcritical of ourselves. So today I am unsubscribing to that as well. Over radical responsibility-ing or being overcritical, taking responsibility for more than I need to because I don't need to. The crazy thing is a lot of my growth edges are in doing less, are in stillness, are in quiet. And I find a lot of, I don't know, discomfort, I would say, in being in that quiet, in that nothing, a lot of discomfort. And it's because of my conditioning. It's because I've been conditioned growing up in the society that we're in that me doing all the time, me being caught in that circuit of doing and producing and achieving and having something to show for it is where my worth and value is. And it's been a long, long undoing of that, an unconditioning of that. And my guess, I'm willing to bet that you also, if you're listening to this podcast, feel the same way. You're someone who has had their worth be driven and stem from what they do, the value they bring to the relationship, the value they bring to the team that they're working with or working on at their company and in their family, in their friend group. You're the person who does the most. And I urge you, as I'm doing for myself too, I urge you to step back and sit back and imagine what it would be like to step into the most expanded version of you, the highest version of you, like your highest self. Who is that person? When I think of myself, like when I have finally become that girl, the person I've been growing towards, what is she like? I ask myself, how does she carry herself? How does she act? And how would she go about this decision? She just probably wouldn't even record this podcast episode and just stop showing up and pause the podcast. Not there yet. But when I think about her, I think about how would she go about this thing that I'm doing. And I try to lean into doing what she would do. Another thing is, being someone who volunteers to host a friend's going away party. One of my friends did this recently and she was telling me about how she was excited to do it. Like her space is all set up for it. But it was also like 3 hours of prep work. And when she started to get into it, she realized how much work it was. And it was an example of her volunteering to do something nice for a friend, but also giving herself a lot more work to do. Now, if she were to fast forward and think about what would the highest version of herself do, how would she commit to that? Would she commit to that? And then would she choose to get help from different people around her to set up for this going away party or going away event? So that's just another example. So my question to you is, what is playing big for you and what is playing big for the next version of you, the highest version of you? What does that look like? It doesn't actually literally have to look big. Like I just talked about how I moved into a smaller office, it doesn't have to look big, physically big or outwardly big, but it has to feel like a growth edge for you. And when I say growth edge, I mean like the kind of thing that you're like, oh, I know I need to do it, but I really don't want to do it. And you feel like a little intimidated by it, a little anxious by it, a little scared by it, a little excited by it. That's what I mean by the growth edge. So I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to hear what all of you think about this concept of what playing big is and how you view playing big, because I think all of us think about it a little bit differently. So here I am officially unsubscribing to continuing recording podcast episodes for the next few months. I'm taking a break. I'm subscribing to rest. I am unsubscribing to the need to pre-record and just taking time off and letting it be that. And I'm excited to undo that conditioning, that need to show up in certain ways always, because I'm the one everyone relies on. I'm unsubscribing to being that person all the time in every single area of my life. I was talking about this with another friend, and we were talking about how our husbands, we love them dearly, love them so much, and they rely on us to find things around the house, like anything that's needed that they didn't put somewhere, or even if they did put it somewhere, honestly, like that happens too. They'll come to us and be like, hey, where is X? And we always know where X is. Like, we are aware of everything. We are the ones who hold it all together. We're the ones, again, that everyone relies on, everyone leans on. And then we have to tell them where X is. They're like, hey, it's not there. And then I'm like, oh, did you actually look? And my friend and I were just laughing because we both experienced this, and we're the ones who kind of have tabs on every single little thing, every process running in the household, every item that's important and where it is, every person in the household and what they're doing. And it's just like, whoa. So we get to unsubscribe to not being everything for everyone every single moment of every waking day. And that's another thing that for me is actually playing big. Coming back to center and saying, actually, I don't know where that is. Go look for it. Or I think it's here. Maybe you could go look for it. Being maybe a little bit nicer about it would be great. Tushar does try, but he needs a little support sometimes when looking for things. And we do have a lot of people in and out of our house. So things do move around, and that's the reality of our lives. Our life is a big life. And that brings me to my final point for this podcast episode, which is living a big life. What is a big life? A big life is one that is full of adventure. It's full of people. It's full of laughter. It's full of hosting people and meeting people and socializing and seeing love in your life in different ways, going out, traveling. Maybe you are invited to a lot of events. Maybe you have a lot of events around town that you go to. You're someone that goes and does things in the world. You take your partner, your family with you, and it's a lot happening. And maybe you have a lot of people in and out of your household like we do. Like, it is a busy time for us. It's a busy life for us. There's a lot happening. And that big life means it requires a lot from usually me, the CEO of the household. I am the one, like I said, who does a lot of holding together, holding the space, holding the energy for our entire home. And it can be a weight sometimes, especially when there's a lot going on, when we have a trip planned, an event coming up that we're hosting at our home, and another trip planned, like a lot of back and forth things happening. Got to unpack, pack again, repack, or go on these 3 different locations for one trip. So you have to pack for like 3 different weather types. And it's just a lot. Like, this is what happens when you live a big life. There's amazing experiences and memories that come with it. And at the same time, there's a lot of logistics that go into it. And if you're living a big life right now, maybe you have a lot of people in your home, you have a big family, or you just have a lot going on like I do, or all of the above. I want to take a moment for you to recognize you and to thank yourself for being the person that can hold all of this, because the fact that you're here means that you can hold all of it. And even though you have the capacity to do so, you do not have to. What do I mean by that? When we live a big life, we need to allow support to come in. I talk about this as widening the base of support. I think I spoke about it in a couple episodes back. Maybe it was 22 or 23. The idea of widening the base of support. When I live a big life, I need support. I cannot just do it on my own. We were dog sitting my brother's dog for a few weeks. I think it was 3 weeks, which is a long time to dog sit. And I love my brother's dog. He's the best. His name is Zoe. He's really cute. I've known him since he was 7 months old when my brother adopted him, and we love him. And at the same time, he's kind of an anxious dog. I had so much going on the last few weeks. Tushar had some important calls, podcasts, and we just could not have him in the house barking when any person like walked by the window or we had someone come in the house. Cleaning team came into the house, our assistant was in the house. Like there's so many people walking in and out, especially on days that we have our service providers in the house. And so each time this happened, Zoe, my brother's dog, would bark, and it was really disruptive to our work. So I decided to widen the base of support and actually hire a pet sitter during the weekdays for Zoe. He came over, picked him up, had him Monday through Friday, and then dropped him back at the end of the week. And then we spent the weekend with him. And I made sure my brother felt good about it before he left. I knew I kind of had a feeling that I would need this extra support. So I tried to line it up ahead of time. And that is an example of widening the base of support. When we live a big life, we just need to allow that help to come in. And there's so many solutions for it. Some that cost money, like a pet sitter, or maybe we could even ask friends. That's something I'm really practicing doing, is asking my friends for help for like, hey, can you come over and help me, finish organizing this thing if I have a friend that likes to organize? Or could you keep me company while I pack for our trip coming up and make packing fun? How can I widen the base of support? We don't do this. Like, we just feel like we have to do it all on our own, especially if you are a high performing individual, an overachiever. You feel like you have to figure it out by yourself. Like I have been that person, and I'm tired of being that person. I realized in order for me to live a big life and feel really good about it, I need to unsubscribe to being the person who figures it out by herself all the time. And that's what I'm doing. I'm allowing the support to come in. I'm calling in new ideas, new opportunities. I was with my friend yesterday for brunch, and she had a bunch of suggestions on how to have more support when it comes to meals, which was such a helpful thing. And she's like, let me email you. And I was also telling her about how I'm craving new connections and friendships. And she was like, well, let me have a bunch of people over for dinner who are like us, because I've been hearing the same thing. And she's an incredible connector. I just admire her so much and love her so much. And she had all these ideas. And I was like, well, yes, I would love to feel supported by you. And I would love to support you too. Like, we need to allow this to come in. Maybe the solutions to making our lives, our big lives, easier are already around us, and we just haven't tapped into them. Another thing is overwhelm. So I've been feeling this a lot right now. We're prepping for a bunch of things this summer, shifting around for house renovation stuff. And I just started to make a gigantic brain dump. I normally do this either on a piece of paper or in Apple Notes, but I've been feeling like I need to upgrade my on-the-go notes. I always do move them into ClickUp or Notion later. Notion for personal stuff, ClickUp for work stuff. Although that's kind of been changing too. I've been doing ClickUp for personal and work stuff mostly these days, and Notion is just it's like my second brain, my Wikipedia. But anyway, I digress. Going back, I've been using this new app called Superlist. It's so cute. It's mobile first, and I love it because I can just quickly jot down everything that's on my mind. I have this app open, and I'm constantly putting things on there like return X, return Y, buy this, leave this downstairs at the front door for Tushar to go get notarized. All of these little to-do items I'm putting in Superlist, and then later on at my computer, I'm triaging them. So I'm going through the Superlist checklist, completing them if there's something that I can do, like send an email, or adding them to my ClickUp queue so I can do that later. So I'm really creating systems around life, around my admin stuff. I have to get something signed, get a doctor's note. I have to complete and pay a bill. I have to, like, all those little weird things that we have to do at living grown-up lives in this world. I throw them into this system, which is Superlist. You could use Superlist on its own, by the way, if you like it. You have the desktop website for Superlist, which is really great. You can put due dates on it. You can put descriptions in it. You can have sub-checklists and everything. But this way of organizing, one, it's pretty aesthetic and cute. The design is cute of the app. And it allows me to bring a system into making sure my big life runs smoothly. So that's been really, really helpful for me. And the last thing about feeling overwhelmed when you are living a big life is sometimes we just need a break. We just need to go outside. We just need to talk to a friend and vent. We just need to go get a matcha and forget everything for a little bit, or honestly take a nap and eat some calories, eat some carbs. It feels really basic, but all of these things can just help us pattern interrupt that cycle, that ticker that keeps like going back and forth in front of our brains, especially when we have something like an item on your to-do list, or 2 items or 10 items on your to-do list that keep coming up. They just keep popping up in your head. This is why I love this system that I shared with you. I love to jot them down and then go do something else for a moment, because that pattern interrupts the like monkey brain jumping up and down that cannot stop. And that's really important for when we just have so much going on in life, and we need to somehow get a handle on it, but also be a real living person that is kind and nice and happy, and because we want to be that, and sane. We need to have these pieces supporting us for that big life. So a lot of what I talk about is having structure that enables flow. These two things work hand in hand. It's the masculine, which is structure, and the feminine, which is flow. And I really believe that both are necessary in order to feel really whole and feel really supported in these areas. So I really hope these ideas were helpful. There is so much more we could talk about. I feel like I'm going to be putting a lot into the vortex of what is this podcast, of what is Unsubscribe in the next few months. And I'm excited to come back. I already have plans to make this podcast even better. And this is what's needed for that. I need that break. I need that space. And I'm going to be refueling the tank and coming back to you with the best episodes ever, the most juicy episodes, the most exciting episodes, and the ideas that I have. I've been writing them down and planning already. I'm excited to get into it, but I also know that I don't have the energy right now to do those things, and I just truly need a break. So I appreciate you all for holding space for me during this break, and I'm holding space for you to take a break too. What are you going to unsubscribe from? What is playing big for you? What is your growth edge? And how are you going to do that in order to live your big, beautiful, expansive, magical life? Let me know on Instagram, and until then, I will see you in a few months.